Hi, this is Rich Kaufman, and again today we're here in our studio, and we want to introduce to our viewers somebody that's really special, friend of mine, and one of the leading architects that I know anywhere. He's a leading architect in St. Louis. He's known across the country, and I think even in foreign countries for some of his design work and for being an advocate of high performance building. And so I want to welcome to our studios today a person that I've known for the last 6 years and a good friend, Jeff Day. Jeff, thanks for getting out of your busy office and coming over and talking to us.
Absolutely.
And I was thinking as I was preparing for today, and I thought back to a day this winter when I got a phone call from you, and you said, I want you to meet me on a piece of property in the St. Louis area over on the Illinois side. And it's what our viewers have come to know as the Oasis at 8729 Lower Marine Road. And that's the Vernon property. And you had me meet you out there. It was pretty much undeveloped at that time. And we walked around on the property, and basically the client was talking to you about the beginnings of a house on that property for them, and you were giving your ideas and vision of what you saw being developed there, as you do with all of your clients, I'm sure. And I thought it would be kind of interesting just to talk about that, what you saw that day, and then how that process went from that to learning more about what they wanted in their home, and then your design for that, which created, I think, the best of what's out there. So tell me about that. What you, I mean, I couldn't be in your head that day, but you had things going on in your mind.
Yeah, I've had time to sort out what was in my head. Okay. I'm an old car guy, so it was kind of neat for me to walk out on that site, and there was 2 old cars, neither of which I would want to own. However, you walk on a site, there's a dilapidated home, there's an old foundation from a previous garage or barn, I'm not sure which. A couple of cars, an old trailer, some tires. But if you can just visually remove all of that when you first get to the site, or when we first got to the site, it's like you said, you see kind of an undeveloped piece of property. There's neighborhoods kind of surrounding the property, which play a role in positioning the house, obviously. It's heavily wooded. And that can also play a role depending on how you lay it all out. And then there's a neighbor who has a fairly cleared out lot with a real nice lake. And so there's possibilities for really any kind of view you might want with the amenities that just happen to be on or adjacent to this property. So we'll start turning in my head. However, I don't want to trump what the client's vision is. So I like to try to find a healthy meet in the middle for the conversation. And their initial thought was to place it on the south side of the lot, have the back of the home face south. And, commonly that's kind of the direction sustainable homes take.
Is that done, Jeff, because a lot of times they're trying to orientate so that they can get solar on the back of a house or something to take advantage of that, and not have solar panels in the front of the house where people see them? Is that what usually happens?
That's actually part of it. It's not in total, but it is part of it. So as we all know, the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west, and it's pretty much in the south of those two all day long. So there's an opportunity to gain light all day long. However, in the winter you want to capture as much of the heat from it as you can. In the summer, you're not going to want to. So then you start dealing with the costs of elements like porches and things to offset the heat gain. But then also, you need to consider your living space. Commonly, today's modern style living, people want to have all of their public space for their family and friends at the back of the home. People don't hang out on their front porches anymore. Even in urban dwellings, urban properties all over St. Louis, downtown Belleville, and so forth. People don't sit on their front porches like they used to. So you have to consider really all of these things as you start to develop a floor plan, because client will want that maximum heat gain in the winter. However, they won't want to sit out on a deck in the summertime when
Yeah.
it's 95 degrees outside. So we talked about maybe placing it, and the south side, I think I failed to mention, is close to kind of a developer neighborhood with a handful of homes. And then we talked about maybe the wooded location, pushing it a little bit into the woods, whereas maybe the trees could play a role in blocking some of that sunlight. And that was a good consideration, but then we start to clear trees and things like that that maybe we don't want to tear out.
Yeah.
And so on the north side of this lot, there's this lake, and they can position the home close enough that the view out the back of the home faces north, which will give them as much natural light as they'll need, as long as we provide enough glass in the design. And it's diffused light. It's not direct light. It's very easy on the eyes. So they'll be able to sit in the backyard or on the deck or in the living room and not worry about necessarily having a roof cover, unless you want a roof cover for rain and things, but it's not necessary in this position.
And they get the view of that lake,
And
which
they
is
get that, which is very important.
That's important.
So without being right on top of their neighbor,
Yeah. Yeah, the
what
neigh-
would you guess? They're 400 yards away from the
Oh, I
neighbor's
think
home.
so. You don't even see it
Right.
now.
Right.
But
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it's heavily wooded at
Yeah.
that side as well, so that blocks the
Exactly.
view from one another.
Exactly.
However, they capture the view of this lake.
And I've had the privilege of being in a lot of your designed homes over the last few years, and I know that that orientation to take advantage of the view or to take advantage of the lifestyle is one of your considerations, and certainly to orientate a house to take advantage of things that you don't have to pay for, like the passive solar.
That's right.
That's a big deal, and daylighting, as you call it, I think, in your talk about that, and that was something that you were very much wanting to take advantage of with this site,
Correct.
right?
That's correct. So we did adopt the lake view that faces north, and we provided a lot of glass at the back of the home so that not only do they get the view, but they get all this natural light. The living spaces at the back, which would include the dining room and kitchen, are actually one-way vaulted so that all that natural light can actually flood deeper into the room. So we can provide things like skylights and things and bring that northern light in without really having an adverse effect on their cooling bills in the summertime.
And this particular design does have the Velux skylights.
It does, that's
quite
correct.
a bit of them, and they were in there when you designed it, and they're going to be in there when it's built.
Right.
And create that too. And I know I've been in other homes you've designed where virtually you could go through the house in the daytime without turning every light on. It seemed
That's
like
right.
they were light, and yet there wasn't a harshness to it. And that's accomplished, like you said, by doing different things, like not many people think about that, the vaulting of the ceiling and diffused light, as you call it, so you get it, but it's not glary.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And you did something in this design, and of course our viewers are going to get to see this because we're not only going to show a rendering of it, but they're going to see this house over and over again and in its final stages. But you did a unique thing with a wraparound porch that on the front of this house, where you talk about that a little bit, because it was a little different look with the windows above, and it really is attractive, but it also has got a lot of purpose to it, right?
Right. So, speaking of southern exposure, the front of the house faces south, and you obviously want to try to capture that light, but in the winter you want the heat as well. In the summer you do not want the heat. So, the higher you place glass on a wall, and if you get it on the roof, it's even better, but the higher you put it on the wall inside of a room, the further it's going to come back into the room and light the room. So most homes, they have a white ceiling or a cream ceiling, a light colored ceiling, I'll say. And if you can bring the light up the natural light really close to that, then you'll get this reflection that then takes up the lumens in the room even further. The foot candles will be higher. So that considered, and then the fact that you still want natural light, you want to gain that heat in the winter. We have to look at what's called solar angles. So that's kind of the angle of the sun in the sky. And the sun is in essence lower in the sky in the winter, and it's higher in the sky in the summer, which means you're going to have a much taller angle in the summer. And so we designed a porch that comes out far enough to block windows that are under the porch from direct sunlight, which then would create heat
gain
otherwise.
and heat gain, right?
Yeah, correct. And then in the winter, when the sun is lower in the sky, we get more of a direct sunlight, which is going to provide that light, obviously. Days are commonly more cloudy in the winter, which is good, except that you also want to have that heat gain. So the front of this home, there's a dining room and there's an office on the main floor, as well as a foyer, the entry foyer. And then above that, we have a couple of bedrooms. We designed this porch so that it was low enough that we could get transom windows above the actual porch roof that then open into the dining room.
And I think when people look at that design, it was. I mean, when you walk out on the porch, it's certainly high enough to get up to the porch.
Even a guy like me.
Yeah, even somebody, like you. I don't have any problems. But when you walk out on that, like I say, you get the height that you need for the ceiling of the porch.
Correct.
But what you did was lowered the pitch of the roof of that porch to allow you to put these transom windows above
That's correct.
above it. And this particular design, what that did, or what worked with that, is also you made the ceiling higher in that living space. And so that, I think it's a 10-foot ceiling as opposed to maybe a 9 or an 8, which allows that light to get in at the angle that you said we needed for the summertime. Is that right?
And high enough on the wall that it's going to come deeper into the room. And not only that, it'll be close to the ceiling, so it will start to
reflect
create
off
more
of the
light. That's right.
Yeah,
It also, it's in essence a flat roof, as you were saying on the porch, and it also lends itself to immediate or maybe future solar panels to be on the roof and not really stand out as an element to the home, because they'll be flat as well. This faces south, and they would get maximum exposure to the sun with it.
I think, and that's interesting because that could work that way. I've over the years I've seen homes that had solar panels on the front part of the house, and I always wish that they could have done something different.
Sure.
And they're not, they're not ugly, and they look like money.
Yes, they do. They smell like money too.
But most people would like them on the back of their house,
Correct.
And with this orientation, that doesn't work. But what was unique about this situation, and from the beginnings, you knew this, that not only they were designing this home, or you were designing this home, but adjacent to this home, because it's a 6.5 acre piece of property, so it's big. But adjacent to it, there is another building that's being built.
Correct.
And the foundation, if any of our viewers are watching time lapse, they're following this as we go along anyway. But there's this other building, and the orientation of that building, it's situated so it looks good with the house, but its roof line has a long 120 feet span of southern facing roof. And at this project, there is a plan to put solar panels on that and feed both that building and the house.
Correct.
So that really worked out well.
Right.
Because if you can adjust, and what I've heard, and you can talk about this, but if you can adjust that roof line to get it where it's really facing true south, and you can get it at about a 612 pitch, where there's a 6-foot rise in every 12 foot of length, that 612 pitch, that's almost perfect for solar panels. It captures the
Correct. Using simple construction methods as far as angles and rotation of the building and everything, you're exactly right. The other avenue is, like my office building has a flat roof on it. Well, we actually have stands on our solar panels. However, with the way it was approached on this particular property, it really looks integral to the design instead of this thing standing up. Now, I have parapet walls on my office building, so you don't really see them. Solar panels look great on certain vernacular of architecture. So if it's a very contemporary home, it can easily be made to be an element of the home. If it's an old world home, there's a lot of communities out there that are really kind of pushing and pulling inside of communities to allow or not allow. There's a lot of different opinions of it.
Yeah.
The home we designed for the St. Jacob lot for the Vernings is actually kind of a hybrid. It's really kind of a contemporary farm home, so it really kind of lends itself to having solar panels on.
I like that design. When I saw it, it kind of, in my mind, went back to the salt box kind of look from New England back in the day, and so it's got a lot of that aspect going on with it. Yeah, but let's talk about something else, because you mentioned your office, and we can come back and talk about the Oasis if we want more. And matter of fact, I'll tell our viewers that on the day that we're here in the studio, we also went out to the site and shot some footage. Matter of fact, let's take a look at that now.
We discussed, we positioned the house with all the living spaces at the north side. So not only are we capturing the view of this lake that's on the north side, but we're also going to get the light that's indirect. So it'll be much easier to sit out in the backyard and hang out, and that'll be really all summer long. Early spring into the fall, they won't have to worry about the sun really hurting their eyes. I'm actually facing kind of southeast right now, and it's fairly bright. Over here, the foundation is in place for the auxiliary building, where they'll have all their lawn equipment and storage and things, but they're also going to have a small area in there where they can have seminars, so that builders around the area or homeowners that are interested can come and hear people speak about different kinds of technologies and solar orientation, or products that are out there that you can use on projects like this. The auxiliary building is actually faced south, so that we can actually load the roof up with solar panels, as discussed in the studio. So that'll actually power not only the auxiliary building, but it'll also power the house as well. And you'll notice the adjacency to the two, they're fairly close together. So that's going to give us the opportunity to run the power to the house much quicker. And as both of these buildings get built and the technologies start to get installed, you can learn more about it on the Oasis Homes USA website, as well as the JeffDayLLC.com website.
You know, I'm having a lot of fun with this interview today with Jeff, and so I'm going to call this part we've done so far part 1, and then we're going to come back with part 2. So if you're enjoying this like I am, keep watching.